Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video I am going to be showing you guys some budget weapons that you can use in RuneScape 3. So this guide is going to be more aimed towards the mid-tier players. I'm mostly going to be showing weapons in between the tier 70 up to tier 85 range. So if you are one of those players, this guide should be really helpful for you. Also, in the description, I will be putting timestamps to each section. I'm going to be breaking down the video into the Tribrid Weapons, the melee weapons, the ranged weapons, and then finally the magic weapons. And so if you guys do enjoy the video, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more RuneScape 3 content. Anyway, let's begin. So starting off, we will be looking at some Tribrid weapons, and what I mean by Tribrid weapons is that they can actually turn into all three combat style weapons. So first off, we have the Vanquish. This is a weapon that can be obtained from May's Caravan by allocating 150 quest points to the combat track. Now, this weapon is a great weapon for mid-tier players. It is a tier 75 Tribrid weapon, meaning that it can be turned into a melee, ranged, and mage version. This weapon does have a special boost, 2 quest bosses only. It gives 5% extra damage, 2 quest bosses, and you can actually reach a maximum of plus 25% extra damage if you do die to the boss 5 times. So basically, if you're having a hard time with a quest boss or a quest, you can use this weapon and you will get some increased damage. The only downside about this weapon is that it cannot be augmented, meaning that you won't be able to benefit from invention perks if you have unlocked invention. Now, the second Tribrid weapon that you can unlock for free actually is the Sun Spear. It is made during the River of Blood quest, so this is a pretty high level quest. There are quite a few requirements, however you can do it before you max out your skills, so this would actually be a useful weapon for some players. It is a tier 78 Tribrid weapon, so it does have that melee, ranged, and magic version. So this weapon is really nice to have. It does actually give you extra damage against vampires, Vire Watches, and Vire Lords, as well as the Vire Ladies. And the best thing about this Sun Spear is that it can be augmented. So this is actually a really great weapon to have for high level players as well, since you can augment it and put the Planted Feet perk on, which will allow you to benefit from an increased duration of Death, Swiftness, and Sunshine. It will increase the duration of both of those abilities from 30 seconds to 37.8 seconds. So this item isn't only a good mid-tier weapon, it will also be helpful in the higher levels as an item to switch to use Planted Feet. Now, moving on from the Tribrid weapons, we have the melee weapons. So first off, I want to go over the Saradomin Godsword. This is a really great mid-tier two-hand weapon. It costs around 8.5 mil to buy, and it is non-degradable as well, which is nice. The main reason why you might want to use this weapon is because of its special attack. So it will use 50% adrenaline, and it deals 75 to 275% ability damage, and this will restore your life points by half of the damage dealt, and you'll restore prayer points by 2.5% of your damage dealt. So there are a ton of uses for this weapon, especially for mid-tier players. It's really useful for things like Slayer, where you might just need a little bit more health while you are training it, and you can just use 50% adrenaline to gain 50% of the damage dealt back to you as life points. This ability also doesn't have a cooldown, so it can be done every time you reach 50% adrenaline. It is a really great ability to use, making this weapon a great mid-tier weapon. And so the next weapon that I want to go over is the Dark Light. This is a more niche weapon for players, as it is only useful against demon-type creatures. Now, it is created from Silverlight during the Shadow of the Storm quest, so it is another quest item, and it can be upgraded following the Dimensions of Disaster quest. It does have some really great passive effects against demons. So basically, it will pass by the weakness of the demon. So for example, the demon's weak to bolts. Then you won't actually have a hindrance in your accuracy if you are using this weapon. It will also add a 25% hit chance. It will increase your ability damage by 25 to 124%, depending on your attack and strength level. meaning if you have 99 strength, 99 attack, you'll increase your ability damage by 124%. That's a lot. And it'll also increase your auto attack damage by 100%. As I mentioned, you can upgrade it with the dimension of Disaster Quest, and as you can see, it will increase your hit chance by an extra 10%. It will also help improve the ability damage increase and the auto attack increase. Now, as I said, this weapon is only useful against demons, otherwise it is a really awful weapon with the equivalence of a steel longsword. Next, we have the Elder Rune two-hand sword. So there is actually 6 different versions of this, ranging from tier 80 to tier 85. And it costs around 2 mil to buy the tier 85 one. Of course, the other 5 tiers are a bit less money to purchase. Now, while these are some pretty good weapons, they cannot be augmented, meaning that if you do have invention unlocked, you won't be able to benefit from the invention perks. So that being the case, these might not be great if you can use invention perks, since they do add a lot of damage per second if you are using some decent perks. Next, we have a more expensive weapon in Lanika's Spear. It costs right around 70 mil right now, and it is a tier 82 two-handed melee weapon. So it does have tier 90 damage and then tier 75 accuracy, making it a pretty unique weapon and really great for mid-tier creatures. It is a degradable weapon, and it does have a passive effect, and this passive effect is pretty useful, especially for Slayer. It increases the chance of weapon poison being applied by 5%, and will also increase the poison damage by 5%. This is great if you are using poison and if you have Cinderbang gloves. While this weapon is a bit more expensive than most that I have showed you, it is a great weapon for a lot of Slayer creatures since it does have that tier 90 damage. However, the tier 75 accuracy is a bit low, and you might find it a bit difficult landing hits on enemies with high defense. Next, we have the Blade of Nymora and the Blade of Avaris. So these cost 7 mil combined for both, and they are tier 85 dual wield melee weapons. So they have tier 90 accuracy and tier 80 damage. They can be augmented and repaired when degraded as well. Now, these are really great weapons because they are really cheap, so they're good budget weapons, but they also have that tier 90 accuracy and tier 80 damage, meaning that you will have really high accuracy and be able to hit just about any creature. The one downside about these weapons is that they are dual wield weapons, so typically the two-hand melee weapons, they are more expensive since they are more useful in a lot of different scenarios, especially AoE damage. So for that reason, these weapons might not be the absolute best, but they are a great budget weapon for players who are looking to get into using melee. And so next we're going to go into the ranged weapons. So the first range weapon that I have for you guys is the Chaotic Crossbows. These are tier 80 crossbows, they're dual wield, and they do cost 100,000 Dungeoneering tokens each. So these crossbows, they do require 80 range to equip, but they also require 80 Dungeoneering as well. These crossbows, they can be augmented, so you can benefit from invention perks, and basically they are just some nice tier 80 weapons that you don't have to spend any actual cash for, so if you do have a ton of Dungeoneering tokens, they might be a good buy. Next, we have one of the cheapest high-level weapons that you can obtain in the Royal Crossbow. So this weapon only costs around 400k to make, and it does require you to brandish the crossbow at QBD, so that is the only thing about it. When you are making this crossbow, you do require not only to build it, but you also have to brandish it at QBD when it is using the Extreme Flame mechanic. Now, you will also require 70 smithing and 60 summoning, as well as the Song of the Depths quest to be completed in order to make this crossbow. But it is a really great crossbow. It's a tier 80 range two-hand crossbow, and it can also be augmented. So this is an excellent weapon to obtain, especially for the cheap price of only 400k. And so the next budget crossbow that I want to show you guys is the Wyvern crossbow. It is pretty expensive. It does cost 90 mil, but it is exceptional. It's even better than some tier 90 weapons, including the Noxious longbow. So that being said, it is more of a high level weapon, but it is one of the cheaper ones that you can obtain. So this is a tier 85 two-hand crossbow, and it does have a damage over time effect. So it has a 50% chance to activate after every single hit by an ability. That does include bleeds as well. And basically when it does activate, it will increase the poison tier. So at poison tier 1, you'll get an extra 10 to 24 damage that will occur from the wyvern poison. And then after this, you will have another 50% chance to increase that tier, reaching a maximum tier of tier 10, and this will deal 125 to 249 damage per tick. So this extra mechanic does make the wyvern crossbow really great. It will actually increase your damage per minute by around 4 to 7k usually, and also the wyvern crossbow can use back criminal bolts as well, so it can take advantage of the damage boost that you will get from that. Moving on from the ranged weapons, we're going to go on to magic. So first off, the first magic weapon, we have a tier 70 weapon being the crystal staff. This is a really basic weapon that you can purchase for 275k, and it will require 70 magic as well as 50 agility to use. Building off of this, we have the Polypore Staff, which is a tier 75 staff. It does cost around 1.8 mil to purchase, and it actually does have a unique spell, being the Polypore Strike spell at level 80 magic, and you can cast it with this staff. You'll have 3,000 charges before the staff will become degraded. And moving on from this, we have a tier 80 staff in the Attuned Crystal Staff. Now, this you actually can't purchase, but it can be created with an attuned crystal weapon seed and 2,000 harmonic dust. So basically, it is a free weapon to obtain. However, you will need to get that attuned crystal weapon seed. A popular way of obtaining this is from a lot of the elves at Prifddinas. You have the Iworth guards and scouts. You can also get it from crystal shapeshifters as well. And as mentioned, this was a tier 80 staff, so it does require 80 magic and as well as 50 agility, a lot like the crystal staff, to equip. So it is a great tier 80 staff, and if you do have one of these attuned crystal seeds, or you can obtain them, it's great because you can get this weapon for basically nothing. Next, we have a group of staffs, which is the Limitless staffs, and these cost right around 8.5 to make any of them. Now, it does also require 75 crafting to make them as well, and they're tier 82 staffs. Now, these are exceptionally good because they do provide infinite runes according to the specific staff that you do own. And so as you can see, there are 7 different limitless staffs. You have the Staff of Air, Water, Earth, Fire, Lava, Mud, and Steam. Now, preferably you will want to get one of those combination staffs in the Lava, Mud, or Steam, since they will have infinite runes in 2 different types. So preferably I would recommend the Limitless Staff of Steam, since you will have unlimited water and fire runes when you are casting your spells. So this is a great staff to obtain because not only you have the limitless runes with this staff, but it is also a tier 82 staff, so it is quite powerful as well, and it only costs 8.5 mil. Now, in order to make this staff, you will need to combine the Elemental Impetus, which can be purchased on the Grand Exchange for right around 8.2 mil, and then you can also combine it with a Mystic staff of any type. So for example, if you're going for the Staff of Limitless Steam, you'll want to combine the Elemental Impetus with the Mystic Steam staff, as well as the Water and Fire Talisman, since Steam runes will basically be water and fire. So again, you can make any of these 7 staffs and they're all really great. And so next we're going to move on to some really strong magic weapons in the Wand and Orb of the Cywer Elders. So you can purchase both of these for 17.5 mil. That is for both, not for each. Now they are tier 85 dual wield mage weapons, and they do have tier 90 accuracy as well as tier 80 damage. They're really great weapons since they are quite cheap, and they do have that high accuracy, meaning you won't have many splashes when you are using magic against creatures. And then the tier 80 damage, it is doable for a lot of different PvM scenarios, including bossing. So this is one of the best budget weapons that you can buy with Mage. If you're looking to go up to tier 90, it is going to be a lot more expensive. So that being said, these are really great weapons for you guys to buy before going ahead and buying that tier 90 weapon set. And so anyway guys, that is all I have for you in today's video. I really hope you did find it helpful, and hopefully you will be able to use some of these budget weapons that I did mention in today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.